What's up, everyone, and thank you for joining me on our 50th episode of In the Trenches. For that, I brought in a friend of mine with over 20 years of touring and management. For artists such as Florida Georgia Line, Morgan Wallen, Hardy. And as of recent, he even branched out and started his own management firm, Track Management. This episode is full of insight and fun experiences and stories. Can't wait for y'all to hear it. But I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe. So let's jump right now into it with Troy Tracker Johnson. Well, I know you're a busy guy, so thank you for taking the time to do this. You're actually, I don't know if you know this or not, but this is the 50th episode.
50th. And I turned 50 in 2025, so it all works out.
Well, I'm stoked to have you on because, we haven't had a manager yet.
Yeah.
And it's very much a part of what I do. And, you know, this podcast has a lot around film and visuals and stuff like that. And you and I have, we've been in the trenches many times.
Many times.
Yeah. And, I don't know, you're just like one of the coolest guys. So I knew this was going to be a fun thing. So again, thank you for coming in here and to let the viewers or the listeners know, yes, this is the tracker who on the Bobby Bones thing. I did a Bobby Bones thing and everybody's like, whoa, that's a crazy story of how the Dangerous album came about, you know? And I'm like, well, this is the tracker who called me that fine day. That changed a lot for me, to be honest with you, both emotionally and, it helped definitely put my photography on the map. So thank you so much for that phone call.
We've had this conversation before in private and just like how much as much as it meant to you, it meant to me, because I think that day, that 8 hours, whatever we spent there that day was, for me, I don't know if I'll ever have a more crazy day, but at the same time, under control, because I think you took control of him, which made us all feel a lot better. I mean, Tori and I were just like on edge. I'd been on edge for about a month. And then when he arrived that day and we all saw what was going on, and then we felt like, you just kind of, hey, I got it.
Yeah.
And just kind of brought him in. And so none of us really, I can't remember if Seth was there by then, but maybe not. But we all just felt, Tori and I just felt like, okay. We felt a little more calm that how great it was going to go. And man, it was just an incredible day.
Yeah, it was.
That shoot will never, I don't know if I'll ever be a part of a shoot that had more story to it. Even going into it, I think we knew how great that day was going to be, or not great that day was going to be just in other areas, but it just turned out to be the most epic day of photo shoot.
Thank you.
And one of the photos, I was going through your photos and you posted the shot. It's not the album cover for me.
Yeah.
It's the one you have on your Instagram where he's kind of leaning back in the chair and he's got the shirt on and he looks the most disheveled and sad and looking for something, but he again trusted you with the camera and it just captured it. And I at one point I think I even wanted that photo for the album.
Wow.
And because I wanted people to understand like what shape he was in, and granted he was finally able to say, okay, here I am.
Yeah.
Kind of a moment.
There's some photos that have never surfaced that are just sitting in that file. There's the photos where I kind of put him in the jail cell, but he's on the bed and I'm shooting through the bars, and he just happens to look over in one of the photos and he's got his snakeskin boots up on the bed. It's just like, good God. I would not be lying if I told you I have gone through that Dropbox folder a few times just to go. I mean, again, it's just one of my favorite days, and which
favorite days, which shouldn't have been one of my favorite days.
I need to go. You know what? Now that I know that, I need to go back and like get a secret photo printed for you or something for the house. That it's just a 1 of 1 for Tracker.
Yeah, I know it would be awesome. It'd be awesome. There's definitely some in there where I'm just like, oh, you can just see it on his face, and it's just it's awesome.
Absolutely,
the good and the.
So how did Tracker, the nickname of Tracker, get into place?
Yeah, I was a big fan of this band, Macon Grayson, and I was managing them. I was booking them. And I was just their guy. And the story is that we were going to go from Dallas to Amarillo. We weren't making enough money. And I said, look, you make money by t-shirts. Cotton is what gets you from point A to point B. I've always thought that way. I still feel that way. Artists will look at it that way. Cotton. That's where you make a lot of really good money. You make a lot of great money touring and selling merchandise. That's where you're making money as an artist.
Okay.
So even at that small level, I may have had 48 shirts printed up or 144 shirts printed up, but I just knew that we needed to sell t-shirts to be able to make enough money to get home. Mm-hmm. And I get there to bus call, van call, and
big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. And there was no t-shirts. Oh. So I got in my truck and I drove around. And I found the UPS truck and I brought it back. And Buddy, one of the guys in the band, goes, "Man, you track that shit down." And Tracker. And so
I love that
that's
name.
Just really how it came. And then, there were like, for me, Tracker is very much a music related name for people who know me in the business. And there's been artists that it's jumped over. When I worked for Miranda Lambert, she never called me Tracker because Jordan Powell, who I knew, who was her tour manager, I knew in College Station when I was living there. And at that time I had not met Macon Grayson. So, this would have been 99, 98.
Okay.
So he knew me as Troy. And so when I finally got around to Miranda working for her, a few of the people knew me as Tracker, but Jordan knew me as Troy. Miranda knew me as Troy. So it just kind of stuck. Yeah. So there was that band. There might've been one more, maybe like even Chris Young a little bit, didn't really call me Tracker very often, but yeah, that's kind of the name. And it's just,
when it sticks, it sticks.
It does.
That's like mine. I mean, people, "Hey, what's your name?" I just, Spidey. I'm like, golly, everybody just calls me that now. I don't even, other than my family.
Well, that's funny too, because my wife and her family all met me through Tracker, through work, through, she worked at Big Loud. Okay. Yeah, we met, and so she always called me Tracker. And then as we got closer to, getting engaged, getting married, she was like, "Hey, look, I'm going to call you Troy." I was like, yeah, that probably makes sense.
Yeah.
And then her family, her mom and dad, like sometimes I find her mom still calling me Tracker a little bit, but it took them a second. I think they feel it's definitely a connection thing. Like, sure. I know out of the corner of my eye, if someone says, "Hey, Tracker."
Yeah. They're in that inner circle.
Yeah. They're in this, and I kind of know it's a music industry thing but now my mom will answer the phone because the iPhone does that whole thing where it changes if you have your contact as Troy Tracker Johnson, which is kind of in my phone as I send to people, it now changed my mom's phone. So when I call her, it says Troy Tracker Johnson. Oh, wow. So she's always,
I've been noticing that. I've been seeing things that I haven't entered in the phone and it's coming in as the other person's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's kind of weird.
Was management always on your horizon?
100%.
Really? What brought that up? I mean, like, that's cool.
I always wanted to, I don't know. I wanted to have a connection with, either way, I knew I wanted to have a connection with artists, with a lead singer, with them in general. For when I even started selling merchandise to guitar teching to whatever, I liked handling things, and I liked being the guy that they would turn to ask a question. And so as I was just kind of going through the industry, I knew kind of the path I wanted to get into, because I didn't want to be the crew guy that always had an opinion maybe that wasn't really time for me to say something, but I wanted to be the person that artists would turn to and be like, "Hey, what do you think?" Mm-hmm. And really have a conversation about it. So
have a role in it.
Yeah, and so management was where I knew I wanted to go. It was just, it took me a while to get there, but when I took the FGL gig, it definitely was not to be a tour manager of Florida Georgia Line. Nothing against those guys, but I wanted to work with, at the time, Chief was still there, Chief and Seth and Joey and Craig. And I knew that would get me into that building, into management.
It was a powerhouse.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, management was kind of where I wanted to go. I wanted to have a say. I wanted to have an opinion and a conversation with artists and everything that they do. So
yeah, I would think that in my field there is. I mean, there used to be a kind of path you can take, right? You do this, and you keep it going, you'll eventually get to where you get. Is that kind of the same thing in management? Or, I mean, do you start off in TM, kind of get, so you have a, full knowledge of everything that you said? You start merch.
Yeah.
TMing. You got to build that network. You got to build that Rolodex. You got to build all that experience. Is that kind of,
I think there's two ways. I would advise that. Yes. I think there's two ways to do it. You can go to college and you can get a music degree, and you can, go to law school and learn a ton of the different things about the music industry. And then you can move into management. Mm-hmm. Or you can hit the road and you can learn every single thing about the road. You can learn the artist's personality, his tendencies, her tendencies, anything that's going on. And you can do that way as well. Mm-hmm. Lloyd and I did this whole thing where we spoke at a high school, might've been junior high, but it was like how we both ended up in the industry and how we did it differently. He went to college and he did it that I dropped out of college and hit the road and did it this way, but we both ended up at the same spot. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong way. I know there's a way that I choose. Mm-hmm. When I started Track Management, which starts in January. Oh yeah. Emily Smith was a tour manager. Drew Magid was a tour manager. They're going to be my managers that are going to be in the office for Dallas Smith, Hardy, Jake Worthington, McCoy Moore. Mm-hmm. I tend to work well with people that understand the road, and I feel like artists do as well. There was a reason that Seth and Chief at the time worked so well together, is because Chief knew the road and he knew it in and out and knew everything about that. And Seth was, knew some of the road, but never really had been on the road before and really understood some of the other sides of the business. And I think that relationship worked really well for a while. But yeah, so I tend to lend myself to people who've been on the road before.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much.
The new branch endeavor.
Thank you.
I mean, like that's a big deal. Has starting your own management firm or outfit, Tracker Management. Was that something that was, as you have, was that the next step always for you to kind of branch out on your own and kind of, again, take an ownership role, I guess you want to call it. That's not the right word, but like more of a front seat.
Yeah. I've had that bank account, that Instagram, that website, that LLC for 5+ years. So I knew at some point Track Management was going to exist. I didn't know, I kind of had an idea of when, but I knew it was going to. And so, so timing was, it's all timing, it just kind of worked out perfectly. And, and it just,
and knowing when to strike with timing too, and being ready for that when it's time too.
Yeah.
Not just,
no, it was, Seth and I had a lot of conversations about it. And as he, he and I talked about, and he talked about how he wanted to transition out of the management company. And again, I feel like, certain people run massive record labels and some people manage. And I think the world is getting, the industry is getting to a point where I think everyone needs to kind of pick a lane. And not to say that Seth can't do it all. I just think he's brilliant. He's so good at what he does. And as a label head, he's incredible. And then there's managers that are, I feel like I do a really good job at managing acts. And I think, it's the perfect lane. I think other people are starting to figure that out too. It's like, man, I just want to manage bands. That's all Track Management wants to do. We're not going to be in publishing. We're not going to be a record label. I want to manage artists, manage bands. And I want the people who work for me to understand that as well. And they do. That's why it was so important with Emily and Drew, is like, this is all we're going to do. We're going to be in this lane, and everyone else can do that as well, that other lane. So
what would you say makes a really great manager? Not like a typical Boy Scout word, but like, is it tenacity to keep it? Is it being able to I don't know, you're dealing with so many personalities at all times.
Man, I don't know if there's a real
I don't
answer.
know if you can narrow it down.
I don't think you could. I mean, I feel like for me, I have no other option.
Yeah.
I manage bands.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be someone who obviously cares about other people maybe a little bit more than yourself. A little bit. I just knew from the second I had my first ever encounter with an artist on the road or whatever, I just like, man, I want to do whatever I can to make this person better or to make this situation better for that person. So it's just in my blood. And again, I see that in the people that are Emily and Drew, that like, they are the same way as I. All they want to do is make sure that how can we make the better scenario for the artist and the band. And I think that, you got to be able to communication. We were just talking about that. I mean, I don't know how there are some managers in this industry that don't hit people back and don't communicate and don't, I love being called out.
Keep the ball moving.
And I've told everyone, look, if I'm not, please call me out if I have not responded or I'm not getting you what you need. It breaks my heart to know that I've left someone on red or have not responded to an email. And I used to do this. I have this saying where if I'll look at my email inbox and man, if I'm just swamped, if I'm behind, if I just can't get to the 150 emails that I meant,
oh God,
man, I'll delete them. And I'll just go, you know what? For my mental state, I'm really hoping, because I mean, out of those 155, 75 of them are really like, hey, could you mind getting back to me on something? Or how about this idea?
Yeah.
And they will. And I think now the people that know they really need something from me, they'll hit back, pretty quick on something. Yeah. But as things grow, it gets harder to hit back on email, on everything. So
now, is there, now that you have your outfit, can there be a point of too many artists when you can't give them that treatment?
Yeah.
Like Jerry Maguire, the whole, giving it the full all in.
I think there is, like right now. So within the company, we have Dallas Smith, McCoy Moore, Hardy, Jake Worthington. That's our roster. Emily does management with me on Hardy and Jake. Drew does Dallas Smith and McCoy Moore with me.
Okay.
I think me overseeing everything, really a lot on Hardy, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Jake and McCoy are kind of my three. Dallas is coming along with Drew. I feel like, Drew and Emily could definitely take on another client. But I don't think we're in any rush to do that. I've told them that as this launch happens and as people start to call, because they have, a lot of people have reached out just kind of like, hey, curious.
To join the roster?
Yeah,
to
like
join
the roster artist.
Yeah, okay.
And just be like, hey, curious what you got going on, maybe looking to make a change, or I don't have a manager, and things like that too. I've just said, we're not in a rush or in a hurry. We have to service our guys and make sure they are completely taken care of.
Yeah.
Hardy, the easiest, the best, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And it's been moving. It's got its gears working.
It's going right between Emily and I can do that. And Jake is up and coming and moving, and things are really shaking up for him with the Big Loud Texas stuff. And then Dallas, Canada has some US things also kind of moving. It's not nothing that it's crazy. McCoy is our first development act. We're taking McCoy from a pub deal. And, and we're just now cutting music on him where, he's getting into the studio. He's working on his live show. He's going to be announced on a tour. And he's going to, I don't know when this thing will air, but it's going to be great. The music will come out. We're looking for labels. So he's kind of our developing act that we're going to put, Drew and I are going to put a lot of time into.
Is that something as a manager, because there's A&R.
Yeah.
Right. But like as a manager, you have to spot talent yourself to be able to invest your time and energy and all your resources into it. Is that something that how do you spot talent as,
I do think that there's a lot of, that's the problem is there's so many good artists out there and there's so much talent out there that it's not so much about being the guy who just picks and is like, ooh, this kid's going to be a massive star. Cause I do think there's a lot of great artists. It's just kind of like waiting for the right one. You can't, you just can't jump on the first thing, just wait it out. You
can't have FOMO. You can't just be thinking you're missing and you got to just jump.
You can't. You have to wait it out, and
it's got to work with. I mean, it's got to work with your roster, right? I mean,
yes. A big thing about the way that I want track management to be known as from other artists is, I'm not working with artists who don't appreciate me as much as I appreciate them. I don't want to work with an artist who doesn't work as hard as I do. There's a certain kind of artist that I want to work with, and I want them to be able to sit in an office and have a conversation about the future or say, hey, you know what, guys, I these two things y'all just handle. Yeah, I trust y'all to do this. Let's have this conversation about this. But there are artists out there who just make it hard, and I don't think it has to be hard. This is the music industry. It's not. We're not building rocket ships. We're not, there is still honestly there's a few boxes, there's really just a few boxes to get there.
Yeah.
Some people like to try to make it more difficult. I don't think it needs to be more difficult. But those are just kind of the artists so that I want to work with. And then I want my people to work with too, because I don't think it's fair for them to have to, be taking phone calls at 10, midnight, 3, 4, 5 in the morning and just because it's a bigger dollar amount.
Sure.
We need to work with people that want to work.
Yeah. Are you building now, in my lane, in the visual art side of things, I'm seeing a lot of management companies, I guess you would call it signing or adding to their roster a division or a department, suited for images and content and so forth, because it's not making it doesn't always make sense to be shooting from the hip, needing something because you need something all the time, right?
Right.
So you can't just shoot from the hip. Oh, we need to go do this. We need to go do this. That's not that easy. Is that something that will be implemented possibly someday or whatever? Or that you are seeing in your field, in management companies?
No, we do have a digital department that was part of Big Loud that will become part of track management. Kelsey Middleton and Jess Hood Kelsey runs that department. Jess Hood works alongside of her, and they're incredible. And Jess also does some photography. But mostly it's the digital plans. It's putting together, it's looking in the future and looking at like, what's the best marketing idea? It kind of takes it's a much larger job than just socials. It is like, when I first thought about it, I thought it was just a socials. And I was like, man, there are so many things that Kelsey and Jess get involved in the company that is, I honestly don't know how a lot of things would get done, without having their conversation and Kelsey's input into rolling out a plan. I mean, so for me, yes, I will have a digital marketing department. I think it's great that Jess can shoot. I think it's incredible that she can do that for, just to be able to go out when we can't have someone go out and cover a show. It's like, oh, are you able to, go out and get this done? So she does a great job. A digital department, digital/marketing department, is extremely important.
Yeah. especially in this day and age.
Yeah.
Has there been what do you foresee being the biggest change, or is there a change from leaving the organization of Big Loud and having those resources and stuff to now your own? Is that something you've already built in your admin so it's kind of already in line, or is there any change to what you're having to do?
Not much of a change. Not really much of a change. I've watched and learned and kind of had my own ideas on how to do a company, and it's still, a lot of it will just kind of stay in place. I do, there's a lot of things that I'm kind of taking from my time at Big Loud and what we have done, and then kind of, especially the digital department. I don't know if, that was something new, that has been something new that kind of has been a part of something. And it just makes the most perfect sense to have a little team around you. Now, I don't know what else you could add, maybe a touring, I'd love to add a touring person that, is in the management office that really just looks at touring, putting budgets together for tours, what is the best routing way, just someone other than myself, and maybe even like Drew or Emily, who has, 500 other things to do for their artists. Maybe there's just, the touring person that's in the office for track management, who's literally helping us move our tours along. Because I mean, it's not music that runs this industry. It's touring. I still feel like artists, need touring, need to sell merchandise, need to have branding deals. Their music is not making them their money, so they rely on that. And that is what management, I think, does their best job on, is making sure the balls is still moving forward on that things. Yes, record labels are important, but the touring world is by far, I think, the most important thing to an artist's career.
Wow. That's great. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
That's great insight. I mean, sometimes one of my producers on the podcast, he said in the past on like these episodes, he's like, yeah, sometimes don't be afraid to ask the simple question. Yeah. And that's a very simple answer to something that could be so taken in many different directions.
You have these artists there are artists out there who sell records, and they look like they sell records, and they stream very well, but they're not drawing 500 people, 250 people to a venue. So if you put the time in, not saying they can't draw more, but if they put the time into touring, if they really looked at the touring and branding, the brand side of things, and having good merchandise for people to pick up and look at, and I think they would grow, getting on tours and hustling that way versus hustling, say, another way. On social media, and not having it translate into actual, instead of making your tour look like there's 500 people in front of you, actually have 500 people in front of you and then film that.
So I think you said this a while back in a different way, but most likely what I'm reading is any artist that's going to come to track management is going to be hitting the road.
They're going to hustle. Yeah.
They're going to get it. That is how you move the ball forward.
Yeah, I probably say it too much, and people probably make fun of me. But I mean, if you're a hustler, you're probably going to be one of my closest friends. Like I want to surround myself with people who just want to keep the ball rolling, who want to work, who even if something goes wrong, let's go. Let's do something else. Let's keep going. I mean, there's literally a cheesy sign when you walk into the office. It just says, hustle. Because if you're hustling, even if you're not getting a ton of shit done, just keep it going. Just hustle. Just keep trying to get it done.
And it's almost like what you see, it's those baby steps. It's just brick by brick. You'll build something if you just keep it moving, right? Mm-hmm. You told me a story on the set of Hardy's Rockstar. When I was shooting stills, you had said something about a really, I was going to ask you, like, has there been a really crazy experience that you have gone through as a manager? And I'm sure there's hundreds, but I kind of wanted to answer it for you. Could you tell the story where you got a phone call from like Drake's people to get on a plane or whatever. I just remember you telling the story and it just got better and better and better and better.
I have had some really crazy moments where I don't really think I ever would have thought it would have happened, but I'll jump quickly to the first part of that story, which is I was on my honeymoon and Seth, no one talked to me which was amazing. Like no one, everything just got handled. It was great. I land and Seth is like, hey man, I didn't want to bother you this whole time, but I need you to hop on a plane tomorrow and we're going to fly to Miami. And I'm like, well, what are we doing? He goes, Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre want to have lunch with us. And I was like, what? He goes, they want Hardy to do a Gin and Juice remake, country version. And I was like, and so, of course, I'm like, yes. So the next day we hop on a jet, we fly to Miami, we have lunch with Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. And Dr. Dre walks in later. The meeting starts. Dre kind of makes an entrance. And as he walks in, he remembers, he knows everyone's name.
Yeah.
Tracker, what's up? Joey Moy, it's a pleasure. Seth England. You know, he kind of just does this thing and my mind, I'm just like, I'm sitting at this table with the Defiant ones. You know, these are the Defiant ones. These guys are billionaires.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've ever been in a room with a couple billionaires, but I have. And it was amazing. So that kind of set this tone to, I don't know, go a month later and I get a text from Tracy over at the Core that says that Drake's manager is going to be calling you. And this is probably at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And I'm going, I'm sorry. What? And so
I might have had a drink or two.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I get a call and I answer it. And he just says, hey man, Drake would like to fly Morgan to Toronto tomorrow to be in his video. That's all the information I have. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, 11 o'clock at night, it's really hard to get a hold of Morgan Wallen. It's hard to get a hold of him at 8, noon, 2 p.m., 5 p.m., you know.
I bet.
Yeah. So I was like, man, any more details? He goes, no, I can get a plane there. It's going to take off from Nashville. It's going to fly to Toronto. I don't have a location. At the time, he didn't even say the song. He's shooting a video and he wants Morgan to be in the video. Is he performing the song? Don't know. We don't know anything.
So have you called Morgan?
I text Morgan and then he calls me back within, I mean, Drake. That's how I know.
You're like, all caps, Drake is calling.
If I need to get a hold of Morgan, I'm either going to say, hey, Drake has a question for you. They got each other's numbers now, but yeah. And so he calls me and I'm like, man, I don't know. This is what I got for you. Drake would like to fly us and he's like, what do you think we should do? And I was like, I think the answer is yeah. What time? What time do we need to be awake and at the airport? I think this is an opportunity you cannot pass up. So that was really just kind of how it was like, okay, let's do it. And then his manager texted me a few more details. I connected someone with Cody, who is Morgan's right hand. And like that conversation started. We really, even the next morning, we wake up and we're not 100% sure what we're doing. We don't know where we're going. We get a tel number.
Now, is there a reason why you don't know now that you've done it? Were they keeping it hush?
They were keeping it kind of hush.
Or did they not know?
Well, a little bit of both.
Copy. I've been in the game long enough too. Yeah. I'll sit back.
It's a little bit of both where they were keeping a little bit like location. They really didn't want a lot of people to know where the location was. But a lot of it was kind of also being thrown together last minute. Okay. So we wake up the next morning and at this point we get to the plane. We still have no idea where we're going other than Toronto. We know we're heading to Toronto.
And it's his plane.
It's his plane, not his famous plane.
Yeah, not the one with the logo.
Yeah, not that one. But it's still a pretty nice plane.
Okay.
Morgan is in a great mood. We're all pretty, having a good time. It's like, wow, here we go. We're told that the pilots, the drivers, when we land in Toronto, the drivers will know where we're going. We land. And we bring Amy, we bring some outfits. Like I've been told like, hey, there's a little bit of a look. So we bring like some, some be himself is what they said.
Okay. So you didn't call style. You didn't go crazy. You didn't do just right.
No, had Amy with us. She grabbed a bunch of stuff. Yep. We knew that
Amy,
he was not performing. He would just be in the video.
Oh my God.
And so we land, we get into the SUVs and Cody kind of leans over. Security was with us and leans over and asks, and the driver goes, I don't know where we're going. We thought you'd know where we're going. So now we're sitting on the tarmac and everyone's blowing up everyone. I'm blowing up the 2 people I know. Cody's blowing up a couple people I know. And then it's finally like, okay, yeah, here's the location. So we all pull the location up and it's just in the middle of nowhere. And it doesn't really like look like anything. It looks like a field. And at this point, we're kind of all thinking, are we getting punked? Did someone just spend a lot of money to fly us to Toronto catfish us? Or because I mean, I had vetted and Tracy was like, no. This is his manager. And so I was like, well, I don't think so. I think we're in a good spot. So we just get in the car and we trust the process.
It is crazy that you guys are all the way there.
We're there.
And you know nothing at this moment.
We really don't know much more than he's going to be in a video. And we drive and we start to get a little more information as we're going. And here's a production assistant that's on site and they're going to meet you and take you to your trailer and things start to slowly roll in.
All right.
We pull up and it's just like this gated, like really dark road. And we start driving. And at this point, we're also going, okay, now we're back. We're getting murdered. I don't know what's going on. And then we pull around this corner and it's a full blown movie set.
I bet. Yeah.
I mean, it's like, Universal Studios where everyone, that little town square where everyone shoots. It looked like that. There was a town square and there was restaurants and there was all these things, all fake. We pull up and they're just like, Mr. Wallen, there's your trailer. Bump, 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 bump. There you go. And we go sit in this trailer and like the door opens up. I'm walking out and Drake is kind of walking in. And there's not a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people that I guess I've met in my life, but like, I don't know, there are people like Drake. It might kind of throw you back a little bit.
Sure.
Door opens. He kind of looks up at me and goes, hey, what's up, man? I was like, oh, hello, Mr. Drake. And he kind of walks in and hangs out with Morgan for 15, 20 minutes and then kind of walks off. And it was just like, it was such a cool moment. We finally gotten to the point.
Yeah.
We're there. Yeah. They have talked. He is real.
It is real.
It is real. Everything is real. There's now like a little script coming together. Oh. I couldn't even tell you the song that was for. Now I totally forgot it. Yeah. But all I know is that Drake does not perform the song either.
No, they were just having a little dinner.
Yeah, they're having a conversation.
Yeah, like smack dab in the middle of their little. Yeah, it was great.
And it was Drake and Morgan started to have a really good time. And the video just kept going and going. And they did this scene, I don't know, 50 times, And in the scene, there's cocktails. It was a good time. One of the funniest moments in that story is I walked off to ask Drake's stylist what he was going to be wearing.
Yeah.
And I walked out there and I was like, hey, excuse me. So this is a photo of Morgan's, what he's wearing. What is Drake going to be wearing? And she goes, oh, Drake just tells us what he's wearing. Kind of one of those things. And I was like, makes sense. Fair enough, man. Yeah, sounds great. And then the video ended. Our flight kept getting pushed back, our jet. So now it's like, oh, we're going to leave at midnight. Oh, we're going to leave at 1 a.m. Oh, we're going to leave at 2 a.m. So Drake just sends us to a restaurant, very nice restaurant. And we just sit in this restaurant. Ern's with us. Charlie Handsome's with us. And we sit there till 3 a.m, eating, feasting, having cocktails, it kind of felt that way. It was just, and then we're just on this plane and arrive back at, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. And I just remember kind of getting home and just looking at Brittany, my wife, and I was just like, I have no idea what just happened. Like 24 hours ago, I got a phone call. We flew to Toronto. We're having a conversation with Drake. Drake and I talked about Texas. He bought a place down there. I'm like, am I now friends with Drake? What's going on here?
What are we doing?
What is actually going on in this world? And Dre and Jimmy. And so that's when I was like, I need to get Eminem.
Yes.
Can I get Eminem at the end of this month? Because that would just be a trifecta. I mean,
we got to kick that.
Oh, man.
We got to get that.
There's been a couple moments where I thought Super Bowl, I thought was going to kind of come into play. It'll happen. There'll be a moment.
Sweats in my closet.
You should probably return them.
Does it, this business is gnarly, and you just told a very gnarly story, but I love how you kind of bookended it with like, I get home, my wife Brittany's there, and it's like, let's talk about that for just a quick second. It's tough. Like, how do you manage? You said 10 minutes ago, I want to have that. I want people that are going to work hard as me. 5 a.m., 10 o'clock at night, we're going to get a call. We're going to have to put out a fire. Some fires are small, some are big.
Yeah.
I might be on my way to dinner with my wife, and I got to pull the plug and parachute and go dip and go take care of a problem.
Yeah.
I know the easy answer for me is I only know that. And I know how I've implemented it in my family, but it has created an immense amount of anxiety for me because a lot of what I'm doing, I mean, hell, let's just say you, the manager, and Morgan didn't know.
Yeah.
I'm in a lot of situations where I don't know and I'm expected to perform creatively. And I do, I think, but like what it's built in me is this pressure, this anxiety that I deal with. Is that something that, something that, as you tell these stories, I'm like, God, I would be like, is that something that is a byproduct of, management and dealing with, you're at the front lines, high end. I mean, you're dealing with the biggest artists.
I'm going to call it a gift. Okay. And
superpower.
And some of us may have it. You may have a little bit of it too. I am incredible at burying my feelings deep down inside. My anxiety, everything, and it drives my wife absolutely crazy. But I can just do it really well, and I have my own my own exit strategy for those kind of things too, in moments where I kind of have in. But I tend to stay pretty even kiltered on a lot of scenarios. And I think this is where we were going with that. That question.
Yes.
But Marion,
how do you deal with all of it?
Marion Kraft told me one time, do you know Marion at all? She's Miranda's manager.
No.
6'4" German manager. She's amazing. She's not 6'4", but she should be. But
she should be.
Her personality. But she told me about this tour manager, Chuck Hull. Chuck was Keith Urban's tour manager. He retired last year. Chuck had the calmness and demeanor of just like this, and she told me one night we were on a show with them, watch Chuck, just watch him and just learn his personality and watch him. You'll learn so much from him. If the building is on fire, Chuck is going to walk up to Keith and just pat him on the side and go, "Hey boss, we gotta exit out real quick."
Love that.
Walk him off stage and get him out. And like I took that short story from what Marion told me and applied it in other ways of just, and granted, look, we're not always going to not be, I've definitely got hot, heated at times, but but the anxiety and the moments and the stress and everything just kind of just gets buried really well, really deep down in there. Yeah. But another good side of it is my wife is also a manager now. I
didn't know.
It's amazing. She was at Big Loud Records. Yep. She was head of the streaming department over there. She got a call from Chief that they were looking to hire a day-to-day, a new manager over there. And she asked me, she goes, "What do you think?" And I have no doubt in my mind that she will be one of the best managers in town 2 to 3 years from now. And so I was like, you have to do this. It's like, she's done a little TMing before. She's done some road stuff before, but not to a massive extent, but she just has the ability to make things perfect, and she'll do whatever it takes for an artist. And so she's all out there. So I was like, yeah, you got to do it.
She's got you to get some little insight too.
I'm
that's amazing.
Told Chief and Simon at Core, I'm going to bill them at the end of the year for just that little
expect an invoice.
Exactly.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. I owe them a dinner at Malibu, Nobu. So I'm hopefully they're just going to scratch that dinner from me.
Yeah.
But but yeah, so she is now doing it. And we were at a dinner one time and her phone rang. And I guess our wives, they hate it. I got to take this call real quick, Her phone rang and I looked down and I saw who it was. And she was like, I need to take this. I was like, yes, you do.
That's awesome.
Have a good time. It's just like, so now there's this, she understood in the past, but now she really understands that you got to take the call.
Sure.
You got to get up.
On the topic of making a good manager, I would imagine, tell me if I'm wrong, are there a couple types of managers, but I mean, let's just narrow it down. Would you consider yourself a relationship manager, really cultivating the relationships? Do you get into the creative side with the talent? Or is it numbers,
I am more of a relationship creative than I am. And I mean, I'm definitely in on the numbers.
But you have people also to really put more eyes to it than maybe you with your sauce.
Sarah Hamner and I, who is business manager for Hardy, are daily speak. She's incredible too. So when it comes to like having an incredible business manager, hands down, you got to get it. Get the best business manager you can if you're an artist. But like Sarah is that. So we talk numbers constantly, but relationship and creativity. That's why, even with Hardy, even with McCoy, Jake, I want to be able to have input. I want to be able to say, hey, this might be a really good way to go. Hardy's got, Tanner gives us so much great feedback on things like that. Trevor, our LD, lighting designer, also he's got a great team around him. So, but yeah, I do have a lot of vision for what I think needs to happen out there. And I think as a manager, I kind of have this big vision that Hardy and I and other artists will talk about. And then we do kind of lean in on everyone to kind of bring it together. So, and still steer it in the right direction,
Yeah. I mean, I would think also having Hardy as one of your artists, he's so polarizing. He's already busting down doors. He's already, he's a rock album. Yeah. And so you already kind of have that going for you where sky is the limit, right? You don't have to necessarily, they can kind of expect different things from you and your team, right? And they kind of already got exposed with that with Hardy, in my opinion.
Yeah, we've definitely gone through it with Hardy. Yeah. And even on the Morgan side, I was a part of that If I Know Me tour, the very, very front end of those things too. So growing through that whole process. And the cool thing about this is some of those guys with Morgan in the very beginning stages, we've all kind of moved. There's been some lighting guys and some designers. We've all just kind of kept growing at the same time with Morgan, with Hardy.
Me.
Yeah.
I'm in that.
Right.
That lane.
That's right. You shot that album, every album cover, right? Every album cover. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But that's what I was leading to is like you're building this team of people who understand it all. Some might be immediately under your umbrella and some are just a phone call away. But is that
I definitely I feel like I've surrounded myself with some extremely incredible creative people that that understand that I kind of have this, hey, here's what I really would like to see, and then just step out.
Yeah,
dangerous photo shoot. I kind of told you briefly what we were kind of doing, and then Tori and I just kind of stepped back and then just handled it. It's the same thing with Tanner at times. Tanner and I kind of love him.
The great thing is you're 50 and he's 1.
so we kind of got to go back and forth on it. But Tanner's the same way too. You just kind of, hey, here's what I just really need. And I've had to learn that as a manager is to not. Creatives are creatives for a reason. I'm not a creative. I'm not an artist. So I can kind of
tee it up.
Yeah, I'm teeing things up, but I rely and need the creatives to just take it and run. And so we've surrounded ourselves some incredibles. David, Larry, Tanner, you, Justin Clough.
Oh yeah.
Even like the guys in the department, Morgan, Tori, just some like really great, Annette, who now works for Tori, Big Loud Records, like just some really, really good creatives. It's been awesome.
I'm stoked to see where everything is going to lean head for you.
Yeah.
And I'm more stoked to get back in the trenches with you anytime you need it.
Man, I know, dude, we will, I love having you on board. You know that. And Hardy does. I mean, I look at that photo, becoming the Crow photo.
Yeah.
And that was like, holy shit. Like, where did this photo come from? Like, we don't, and I think Tori was like holding it back.
Yeah.
Or maybe you.
No, Hardy, I sent him like 7 and I said, I forget what I said. I like, here comes a biggie. And he goes, oh, fuck, hold that.
Yeah.
Don't touch that.
We had a hard time figuring out. We had so many opportunities to put that photo somewhere. And, for me, it was going to be cover of Rolling Stone or Spin or something. Yeah. I was like, shit, what are we going to do for it? And then it just, becoming the Crow kind of came out. I was like, oh, that's it.
Do you know, it's funny. Everybody likes to talk about how I got that shot. And I've already told it enough times, but I would say that shot would not have come about if it wasn't for that awesome security dude that was standing below me, because I had brought a stool on the 3rd night to get that shot. I had it planned. I knew it. I saw it. I needed to get at a certain height so it wouldn't be up his nostrils.
Yeah.
Right there. And I knew the fire was going to be coming there. And, that moment happens quick.
Yeah.
And it's intense.
Oh,
a lot is going on in that moment, right? And he's on the middle that runway there. And I was stepping in on I had one knee and foot on the stage and one on that back leg on the thing. In the excitement of it all, I went in, but pushed all that weight and almost tumbled back.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it would have been
Was it a local security guy or one of ours?
A local
guy? Oh my
gosh. He had saw and just came over and just grabbed my ankle with the thing. And I saw him. I was like, oh yeah. I mean, I went full in. I'm like, gah. It was great.
That's epic.
Man, thank you so much. And we are gonna make this. Hey, Paul Rosenberg, we gotta get my boy Tracker to meet Marshall Eminem. Hey man, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I respect you and think you're one of the greatest. And I'm so glad that you and I have a moment together.
Yeah.
That I'll always have that moment with you.
Love it, dude. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Thanks,
man.
bud. Later, bud. Hey, that was great.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, that was super cool.